Hey, good morning, guys. It's Goose here, and welcome to STN Stock Talk with Ricky and Goose. Hope everybody had a great weekend and everybody's feeling good this morning. Just want to remind you about StockTraders.net. You know, we're an online trading community, one of the leaders out there, and we have a live trading floor. We have a free trading room there, guys. A lot of widgets, a lot of really cool things. We cover a lot in our broadcasts, so I hope that you guys come over there and visit us and see our great community. All the moderators are always helpful there. Just send us a message, join the live trading floor at StockTraders.net, and you'll be able to send us a message, ask about anything we cover this morning. Do want to remind you guys that, nothing that we're talking about this morning is any type of recommendation. We're just showing you, some of our thoughts and ideas on some names that we're following or looking at. So please read the disclaimer and make sure you guys are trading your own plans, I should say. It's just informational purposes. Also, like we talk about every morning, we're not going to, throw 20 different ideas at you. We're going to try to keep this quick and around 10 minutes long and throw a few ideas, always looking for quality over quantity, and make sure we remind ourselves of some of the basic things to get our day started here this morning. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ricky and get started this morning and see what he has for us. I'm sure he has a few exciting things. There you go, Ricky.
Thanks, Goose. And I hope everybody had a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. Before I start my list, I just want to remind everyone that today at noon, I'm going to be doing a free webinar on risk management, and it will be right here at StockTraders.net's YouTube channel, or it will also be streamed live at StockTraders.net/live stream. And even if you're a seasoned trader and you think this stuff is basic, believe me when I say it cannot hurt to have a refresher, especially in these kinds of markets. So make sure to tune in for what promises to be some great content. So let's begin with what made Ricky's list today. First up, I'm looking at SPNS, and you can see that they are gapping down. They lost the ever important tech level or psych level of 10. And remember from a psychological angle that when a company breaks out, people don't have to get out for profits. But when it breaks down, and especially under key levels, there's an overwhelming need to flee to safety and get out of the trade. So I'd like to see it try to push back up before open and then give us a nice short setup to take this down for possible levels of 9, maybe lower. But as always, it must set up first. These are never just automatic trades. They are always if-then statements. If this trade sets up for my personal strategy, then I take the entry. Just keep that in mind, guys. So next on my list is COLL, which is gapping straight into overhead supply levels. It's already stuffed the psych level 25. They got a price target upgrade from 28 to 35 over at Needham. I don't know if this is going to be enough to get through that resistance, so I'm going to look to fade this if it sets up around those levels. The last on my list today is LJPC. They got cut to an underperform at Jefferies, but I don't know if anybody who's been around long enough to know who Kevin Tang is, but this is a Kevin Tang stock, and people that know about him know that he likes to do what they call Tang Bang. And that is when he likes to step in and put a real good squeeze on shorts. So as long as this thing holds important support levels, I really think this thing can push back up. And as always, it's going to have to set up first. But I would not be looking to short this one yet. So that's all from me, guys. I'm going to pass this back over to Goose and let him get through his list. Everybody trade safe and make sure you have a plan.
Thanks, Ricky. Really good stuff there. Couple quick things. First of all, COLL, I really like it. I love it gapping up so much on the on those upgrades. I think you got a nice fade in hand. That's a really great idea, Ricky. I'll be watching that one closely as well. Just going to go through a couple names and then a few names real fast with you. Market's given back a little bit of the pre-market gains from earlier. But I want to touch on a couple names that just have me going. Then I want to finish off by saying a couple things. First of all, jumping into iRobot, IRBT. Obviously, you guys see the big gap down, on their the news and everything that they had. The one thing that's intriguing about this name for me is two things. First of all, it's up a couple. It was actually up a little bit more, but it's still up $1.50 this morning. And the action that it had when the market really came in on Friday is intriguing because it still held, even though it was making these lower highs on Friday. It was still holding this base level at around $56. So if I get a wash this morning and I could play it off that 56, it's definitely interesting to me. The second side of the play is if the market wants to have its morning push, a big oomph this morning, and push up into that 62 area, which is 63 area right up in here. for a possible fade back down, depending on how the market's acting. Again, everything's going to be based on what we see. Could go one way or the other, so let's play it by ear. But I do think there might be some opportunity, and obviously there's great range in the name. That's why I have it on my list this morning. I wanted to touch on Snap this morning. Hang on 1 second. Let me pull up Snap. There's a couple things about names that you guys will be familiar with. Is first, starting with Snap. When you look at the move on Snap, it's done a nice retrace move on this already. Sorry, I should have this drawn earlier. Let me just do a rough one for you. But it's had some nice range. I like to, on these real names, look for this, 40% to 50% pulls for bounce plays. You can see how it kind of soaked up in this 18. So what I like to see is if it wants to come back and test that 18 level again and the market's okay, I'm looking for a bounce, on Snap, and I think it could possibly push through 20, but I want to see how it acts there. So I would possibly buy some weakness in Snap, see if it holds a level. And the only place I look to fade it really is off the $20 level, but it's on my radar. I think that these have been holding up pretty decent for what the market's been going through. Talking about holding up, I do have Twitter on my list as well. Twitter is the exact same thing. I mean, even though it came through here on Friday, let me pull this daily, the intraday back real quick. I mean, you could see, even when the market was really pulling, it was still, this is a hold to me. This is why I use 5-minute candles intraday and stuff like that on, when I have a position on, is because this is nothing for it to break, over a 10-minute period and really hold the rest of the day above 30. I feel they've continued to soak this. And I think this, to me, I feel like it's ready to, start, heading higher. We'll see how the push is. But I like it off the $30 level, especially, on a wash or something like that this morning. It's already, it's actually given back. It was up at 32.50 almost this morning, pre-market. Let me just pull that back, as you can see. But it's just, fade back with the market a bit. So Twitter, I think, is definitely worth an eye. Obviously, that's a key level. And if it starts to stuff in as, in that mid-30 area, have that in mind, obviously, and, be reactive to the trade. Lastly, NVDA is another one. I actually I like NVIDIA. I think there's some really good range, some really good opportunity. Closed above the 20-day, as you guys could see. Just above it by like 50 cents. I like that as one of my indicators. I use that a lot. And I feel like the turns rate, but I feel like you could get a nice push. I know it doesn't seem like a lot when you look at the chart. You say, oh, what's 40? Well, that's $8. So there's some decent range in NVIDIA. It's up $1.70. Obviously, market's got to be, in play for this to work for me. But what I want to look for is buying some weakness and maybe, another push in NVIDIA. If it fails and stuff, so there's range in these names, and that's the last thing I want to follow up and talk about. So NVIDIA, I like. I'm mostly looking at NVIDIA from the long side. Not sure I would fade it unless it pushed up on 240 here, which you could kind of see. So if it pushes up on 240, obviously I would look, maybe for a fade, but I'm looking for a long play, maybe off 230 or, somewhere in here, but I'm not going to jump the gun. This has shown some really, really clear trends in the name. And that's what I want to kind of finish up my talk about. There's two things. Is first of all, guys, in a market like this, what I like to do is I like to find the big range names. Find the names with really good range. It's really clear when that market makes a swing, as far as, the double bottoms, double tops, whatever it is. Whatever your tools are that you use, I find that there's some really good things showing the trend change on these. And when you have a $6, $7, $8, range, there's a lot of trades in there. And when we're in this crazy market, sometimes those are the easiest things. And lastly, I want to remind you guys something. I think I might have said it last week, and I talked to people in the room this morning. I feel like this is really important. As things start to change and things settle in and people feel like maybe we've bottomed in the market, which I don't necessarily believe we have, and I'm not a bear. I just think that, there could be a little bit of volatility left still from, what kind of happened last week. And going back to my point is with the small caps, you're going to see a lot of these things hitting your scan. You're going to see a lot of news. Please do me a favor. Make sure you're looking at the daily charts and stuff like that. Have your indicators up and your averages up. You're going to see some levels that some of these names are hitting up against that were prior support levels. Those are going to be tough levels to get through. So I'm not saying that there's not decent setups of names that have just consolidated through this market, had no volume. Now they start coming out with news and maybe there's another push. And if that's your play and you like small caps, those opportunities might be there. But don't be naive and ignore basic levels that stocks held for a week or 2 weeks that were big support levels and they broke through it. Those are going to be levels that people are going to be happy to get out of when they start going back up there. They become new resistance levels, right? So just pay attention to that. I know these small caps, as earnings season will start to come to a close over the next week or two, that people are going to be looking back to small caps. Don't ignore those levels, guys. All right. So anyway, let's have a great start to the week. Be very patient. This is the time. We want to start off the week good. You don't need to force anything. Let things come to you. And let's have a great week. I'm going to turn it back over to Ricky. Ricky's going to have a great webinar for you guys today. Make sure you sign into the YouTube and join the webinar. I've talked to him about it. It's going to be awesome. And I look forward to hearing it. So Ricky, back to you.
Thanks, Goose. Those are great ideas as always. Guys, I usually don't do this, but for the people that have stuck around to the very end of this Stock Talk, I just want to put out there real fast a quick note on DARE, D-A-R-E. They did a private placement in the 7th month, January, February, June or July of last year. Those were restricted shares, and it's been 6 months, just a little over 6 months, and this is the first time they've gapped up. It was for like about $20 million worth of shares. I just want to put that out there so people know what they are chasing if they decide to chase this. I will personally be looking for a short opportunity on DARE. That being said, everyone, play safe, have a plan. Let's crush it. See me at noon for this webinar. Peace.